Welcome back to the Fireside Lit Book Club, a quiet, candlelit corner of the internet where we read slowly, think deeply, and speak authentically about our experiences. I'm Lindsay, and I invite you to join me by the fire as we explore the soul of a book, the beauty it reveals, the questions it asks, and the ways it helps us understand life, identity, and meaning just a little more clearly. Today's episode is inspired by my awesome cousin who reached out a couple weeks ago wanting to know which books I would recommend for the fall season. And as you might imagine, I was thrilled to receive this text. Always grateful for an opportunity to not only talk about books, but combine my love of books with the fall season. I've always loved the Burr months, September, October, November, December, and I think the reason for this is twofold. Number one, fall and early winter give us such a good opportunity to just slow down, get more contemplative, meditative, and just give us a chance to rest, really. When the weather is like disgustingly nice outside and it's warm and sunny, I mean, listen, that has its appeal as well, but it's definitely a very different mood, and I guess I would say it kind of makes you feel like you have to go out and be productive. Whereas if it's rainy, maybe even a little overcast, that kind of mood lends itself more to just staying in, curling up with a cozy blanket, cup of tea, and a book, which, I mean, hello, that's the reason we're all here. Obviously, we are bookish people. We like those types of things. So if you're here, I'm imagining that you probably love fall as much as I do because it's a soul season. And if you are bookish and artsy, I feel like loving fall just kind of comes with the territory. My second reason for loving this time of year is simply that I'm just a very festive person. I love looking forward to things. I love having reasons to celebrate. And I feel like basically these months are just a whole string of holidays. And it's just an opportunity to do a lot of really fun stuff. For instance, we have, September with apple picking, maybe a little extra baking, and the first of those cool fall mornings or days that are kind of a harbinger of what's to come. And then we move into October with its pumpkins and maybe some spooky media that you break out or spooky content. So for me, every October, I end up watching the Harry Potter series. That's been a long-standing tradition of mine. I loved the Harry Potter books when I was a kid. Still love the movies to this day. And along with that, I really love to select some books they have that autumnal theme. They kind of make all the little hairs on your neck stand up. They leave you wondering what's going to happen next as you kind of turn the pages thinking, what was that creak of the door? What was that rattling of the window? I love those types of books. I am not a jump scare person by any means. I hate horror movies for this reason, but I do appreciate just a little bit of spookiness. And the list of books that we're going to be going through today lends itself really well to that. They straddle the line really well between moody and spooky and a little eerie. And I should just say they are mostly those things and not like full-on scary stories. So if that sounds like your vibe, stick with me because we are going to be doing a little rundown of the 10 best books of the fall season that I would recommend anyway. And these can be broken down into 3 different categories. And I have already listed some of them as I'm just like speaking and throwing out descriptors. So we're going to be breaking these down into spooky, eerie, and atmospheric reads. And we're going to kick things off with the spooky category, specifically the classic Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. Frankenstein is strange, elemental, and full of moody, stormy landscapes. What makes it the quintessential fall read isn't just the monster, it's these themes of isolation, hubris on the part of the scientist, and the way creation and destruction seem to mirror each other. I also loved the obvious questions of morality posed in this novel, specifically the timeless question of who was more evil. Was it the scientist Frankenstein for creating the monster and then ultimately spurning his own creation enough to expose it to the cruel nature and derision of humankind? Or was it the monster who becomes a monster because he was denied the one thing he yearned for the most, companionship? This book also highlights nature at its most powerful and unforgiving, from icy wastelands to stormy skies, which mirror the destructive power of unchecked ambition. Frankenstein still feels relevant because it forces us to look at what happens when we play God and how loneliness can twist the human spirit. I think you'll be totally absorbed in this powerful book from start to finish. This is a great one to read on a rainy October night, maybe beside the fire or with a few candles lit. Next, we have The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson, where the house itself is practically a character. Jackson blurs the line between psychological breakdown and genuine supernatural haunting. The dread builds slowly, the atmosphere is claustrophobic, and by the end, you're still not quite sure what's real. Eleanor's fragile psyche makes the story deeply unsettling. Are we watching a haunting or a woman unraveling, or is it both? What I love, as I mentioned in the intro to this episode, is that this book is not terrifying in jump scare ways, but it is effective in how it lingers. So we do get those little details like the uncanny angle of a door frame, a laugh heard in the night, or the creeping suspicion that we can't even trust our own senses. I love this one for the Halloween season. It's captivating, and it's not outright terrifying. It just makes you think a little more, which, is a plus for those of us who are a little too easily spooked. And yes, I put myself in that category. Next, we're going to be moving on to atmospheric reads, and we're going to kick things off in this category with Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte. If autumn had a soundtrack, it would be the wind howling across the Yorkshire moors in Wuthering Heights. This is one of my all-time favorite books. I read it for the first time as a sophomore in high school for a literature class, and I loved it from that very first reading. I still have the original book. All my notes are in there. It's all marked up. And to this day, yeah, it's a book that I revisit periodically every couple of years. It's a story of obsession, revenge, and doomed love, with the landscape echoing the characters' storms of emotion. The gothic intensity here isn't cozy, but it is intoxicating, like staring into a storm and not being able to look away. I love how the setting of this novel feels like one of the main characters, with descriptions of turbulent rainstorms, dark hills, and twisted trees. Both the narrative and the moors are as brooding, untamed, and wild as Cathy and Heathcliff's tragic love, and the fall season itself. Moving right along, Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte brings us another moody setting. Thornfield Hall, with its mysterious locked doors, flickering candlelight, and, of course, the secret in the attic. It's gothic romance at its best, a mix of independence, love, and atmospheric unease. What elevates it as far as a fall read is the character of Jane herself. Her resilience in the face of both the cold moors and the coldness of the world. It's a book where love and integrity clash against fire and madness, and that tension feels perfect for long, cold, rainy nights. With a bit of a similar vibe to Jane Eyre is the famous story of Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier, and what you'll probably begin to notice about a lot of these works is that they all rely pretty heavily on this setting, specifically Gothic, crumbling estates or mansions, and Rebecca is no exception to this. It combines really seamlessly the concept of place with personal tragedy. If you've ever walked into an old house and felt the presence of someone long gone, Rebecca captures that feeling. The second Mrs. De Winter arrives at Manderley, where every room evokes the memory of her husband's first wife. Fog rolls in off the Cornish coast, and the mansion is both beautiful and menacing. What makes this book so fitting for fall is the way the living are haunted not by literal ghosts, but by memory, jealousy, and the past that refuses to remain buried. It's atmospheric, it's suspenseful, and it's the kind of book that lingers with you long after you close it. Switching things up a bit, for a modern Gothic story, The 13th Tale is a love letter to readers who adore secrets, crumbling estates, and mysterious authors. The story is steeped in literary history, making it an especially satisfying read for lit lovers, and it intertwines the past and the present, truth and invention, keeping you slightly off balance and guessing the whole time, just like the best Gothic tales always do. It's indulgent and bookish, and Setterfield's world building is thick enough to drown in. I read this book years ago, but I've always remembered the impression it left, and the way I really, really thoroughly enjoyed it. I've recommended it many times since that initial reading, and for that reason, it's a book I do plan to return to, if not this fall season, then in the very near future. From here, we move to Thomas Hardy's Tess of the D'Urbervilles, which is admittedly not particularly ghostly, but it's drenched in atmosphere and even some eerie themes. The rural English countryside is lush but tinged with foreboding, just like Tess's tragic fate. The cycles of nature, harvest, and loss make it a powerful autumnal choice, melancholic, beautiful, and inevitable. The novel is all about lost innocence, fate's cruelty, and how the turning of seasons often parallels the turning of lives. Reading it in autumn as the year wanes makes Tess's story feel even more heartbreaking. And of course, there's The Secret History by Donna Tartt, which basically invented the dark academia aesthetic, which I am a huge fan of, but have been hard-pressed to find another novel that does this as well as this modern classic. We get classics, elite students, a murder, and the weight of guilt that unfold on a college campus that practically smells like crisp leaves and old books. It's a fall staple for anyone who loves moody intellectual drama. Tartt gives us privilege, obsession, and beauty that quickly turns into darkness and corruption. Reading it in the fall makes you feel like you've been dropped into a world of Greek tragedy hiding in an ivy-covered library, which, let's face it, that's about as atmospheric as it gets. Finally, we turn to the eerie books on this list. Stories that haunt you and leave you with a welcomed sense of unease, the kind that lingers long after you've closed the cover. This description perfectly embodies Gothic Tales by Elizabeth Gaskell, where you can read most of the stories in a single sitting and get your fix of eerie ghosts, mysterious strangers, and tragedy. This short story collection is ideal for nights when you just want a taste of something a little moody, spooky, without getting into a whole sprawling novel. This book contains 9 short stories, several of which are broken into small chapters due to their length. My favorites include The Old Nurse's Story with its spectral child and echoing halls, Lois the Witch, which delves into suspicion and hysteria in a Salem-like setting, and The Grey Woman, which reads almost like a Gothic fairy tale. And last, but certainly not least, we have The Picture of Dorian Gray by the amazing Oscar Wilde. I have yet to read anything by Oscar Wilde that I haven't adored. This most famous novel of his roped me in immediately. It's decadent, eerie, and completely original, with this idea of a portrait that absorbs every act of corruption while Dorian himself stays outwardly beautiful. The first half is leisurely, laced with Wilde's biting social commentary, but the second half darkens into a gripping exploration of morality, vanity, and decay. The ending is satisfying, chilling, and ironic, making it a true classic for spooky season. And there you have it, 10 of my all-time favorite autumnal reads for this fall and beyond. I'd love to know, what are some of your favorite fall reads, and which of these titles are you most eager to curl up with by the fire on a cold, windy night? Drop your thoughts in the comment section, and as always, thank you for tuning into the podcast. Be well and happy reading.